Welcome to Providence Hill Presents Exit Stage Right with Martha Sullivan. This is the show where we talk about ways to build, buy, and sell your business so you can exit stage right into your next adventure and meet your financial goals. Whether you own your own company or you aspire to someday, or you are just a kick-tail leader in your organization, this is the show where we're going to talk about the business of business and the ways that you can set yourself up and your organization up for its best and brightest future. I'm Martha Sullivan, and I'm your host. Welcome to Exit Stage Right. So it's interesting. It was a lively weekend. I hope you had a fantastic weekend as well. But on Saturday night, this happened. Sorry.
It's Saturday night.
Yes, on Saturday night, Kate McKinnon said her final goodbyes on Saturday Night Live. So also, Pete Davidson did his last show as well. It was the season finale of Saturday Night Live this Saturday night. And you know what? Kate McKinnon is my favorite actress, favorite comedian on Saturday Night Live. She is just so amazing and funny and talented, and she has such heart along the way. And you think about all the work and contributions she made to Saturday Night Live when it's like, wait, what? She's leaving? She's leaving the show. I am heartbroken. I am just heartbroken because I love Kate McKinnon. She just, to me, represented and did such good work. I don't know that I'll be watching Saturday Night Live quite the same anymore. So it really got me thinking about when we have our brightest star leave the show, our brightest star leave our organization. It really can knock the wind out of you along the way. And so I thought that would be a great topic to talk about today, because the way we handle it when one of our stars leaves the organization says a ton about you as a person, as well as you as a company. It reminds me of an organization that I worked with many, many years ago. It was a family-owned business. A husband and wife owned it and operated the business. And when an employee resigned from the company to go on to a different adventure in their life, these owners took it as a personal affront that the employee was in effect abandoning them, and how could they possibly do this? And they took it really, really poorly, and they behaved because they were hurt. They weren't internalizing it correctly because they processed it as a hurt. They behaved very badly about that person that was leaving, as they were leaving and after the fact, in terms of how they talked about them. And I was in the unenviable position of basically calling a timeout privately with the two of them and saying, you know what, you guys can't do that anymore. You really can't behave as if somebody just dumped on you because they're choosing a different path. We need to respect the fact that they're making a decision. It may or may not reflect back on the company or their experience with the company. Sometimes stuff just happens and people need to move on. Maybe there's a move in the family. Their spouse got a job and they've got to go someplace else. Or maybe they found something better and that was more aligned with their goals. It really took some coaching and some counseling to help them to understand that you do better as an organization when you treat somebody that leaves as a new esteemed alumni, as opposed to some flea bag that just dumped on us and left us in a lurch, or whatever nasty talk that you want to play in your head about the person that left. Because let's face it, you guys, you can either set up your alumni as ambassadors or your alumni as detractors out there in the marketplace. So what are some of the best ways to handle that type of a situation when your best and brightest leaves? Because, you know, it can hurt. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt. Sometimes it hurts very deeply. Sometimes you have this panic of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do without this person? They were my lifeline. They were everything to me. How am I going to cope? Well, the first thing to do when after somebody walks in to your office or you walk into their office, however it plays out, and you get the news that they are going to move on to their next adventure, you want to take it graciously and in the moment remain open as best you can and be excited for them, be in what they're moving on to. That can be hard at times, but you need to put on a friendly front and give yourself time to process the news, because it can take some time to process it. And if you have the opportunity to process it in your own space, before you go running down the hall and say to someone else that so-and-so just quit, take some time to truly process the information and what it means. What are those emotions that you're having around the news, and why might they be happening? Digest it yourself, I guess is what I'm saying, is important first before you share it with someone else. And then carefully craft your response, again, to the person who is resigning, but also as you're sharing the news with colleagues, or maybe your boss, or maybe your team. You really want to make sure that you have prepared your thoughts, because what happens if you don't? If you haven't prepared yourself for sharing the news, and you haven't thought through what you want to say and how you want to say it, your emotions can very easily come through as you're sharing the news with others. If you're anxious, if you're upset, if you're honked off that they're leaving, maybe they left a big project in the lurch. All of those things you need to process and put aside, or at least behind closed doors, and put on a neutral, if not happy face on when you're sharing the news. Because if you don't, your emotions will, if you don't pause, your emotions will come through, and there's going to be this disconnect between the words that you're saying and the body language that you're showing. It's like, yes, I'm really excited that Kate's moving on. It's great for her, but that really shares a different message. Then I am so excited for Kate McKinnon. She's chosen to move on to her next big career move, and I couldn't be happier for her. Two very different responses, as well as very different messages that the receiver, whether it's your team or your another colleague, very different messages that are received from by those individuals. So I guess one of the hints that I like to share with you, and I work really hard to do it myself, is when you hear the news and you do share the information, start by celebrating the person that's leaving. And I don't mean celebrate the fact that they are leaving, celebrate the person for who they are and be excited for them. Yes, acknowledge that losing them as a colleague is hard, but celebrate their contributions, wish them well, and wish them sincerely a great opportunity and future for them. You want to be at the front of the "we're going to miss Kate" parade. Absolutely, you want to be at the front of it, even if this person was your nemesis, or maybe they were a burr in your saddle. Make sure, at least publicly, you are recalling the good times that you had as colleagues and as you were working together. Maybe there was some humorous times that you shared, or maybe there was that special project or special contribution that they made. Focus on those as they're walking out the door, and you are truly celebrating and acknowledging that this star contributor, remember, this isn't necessarily the person that is the burr in your saddle. This is a star that is leaving your organization. You want to make sure that they are celebrated and they feel like they are being supported as they move on to their next adventure. So, acknowledge with your peers that, you know what, people do move on. It happens. And we want to see Kate do well, and we'll be okay. We'll miss her terribly, but we're going to be just fine. That's the type of message you want to be conveying, even though it is your star, Kate McKinnon, that is leaving the show. So once you've done this well, it really gives you space and to ask your departing individual for one last favor. So basically asking Kate for a little time with you to talk through honestly what you can learn from their decision to move on to their next adventure in a way that's honest and as transparent as they can be comfortable in doing. So yes, essentially conduct your own exit interview, even in addition to maybe the one that the third party, your HR department might be doing. Really encourage that individual to share as much as they can. So in the spirit of really making one last contribution to the organization, so they can help make the organization better in the future for their colleagues that are still with the company. Now, you don't walk into this conversation with your newly minted alumni, the exit interview. Don't walk into it cold. Don't walk into it thinking you can wing it with your questions. Really prepare your questions carefully and be prepared to take your lumps, if you will, as graciously and with as open a mind as you can. Don't steel yourself to not take feedback that you get in a defensive posture where you feel like you need to push back or defend or explain or anything like that. You want to be in a position to listen and gather the information that you can process and digest, and keeping the conversation as gracious as possible. Because again, you want your bright star to go out into the world and be an ambassador for you, as well as an ambassador for the company. So it's not uncommon to get standard responses, canned responses of, well, you know, it was a better opportunity, or the compensation was fantastic, or it was just a job, you know, a chance I couldn't refuse. Well, those are dodgeball questions. Those are answers, I should say. That person is playing dodgeball, and they're not gonna get hit by your question. So it really is best on your part to, first of all, be prepared for those answers, because they may come and they're quite natural and they're not nefarious dodging. It's just they don't want to say anything that might be hurtful potentially, so they're keeping it neutral. Well, ultimately you want to identify the factors that truly contributed to them leaving. They took the call from the recruiter for some reason, or they engaged in the conversation with a colleague from another company that opened their mind to potentially looking at the opportunity. You want to understand, we always want to understand, what were the factors that contributed to them having an open mind and an open ear to doing something else in the future. So, you know, when you get a dodgeball type of response, you can be prepared to maybe ask a follow-up question and say, well, you know, you are obviously open to exploring other opportunities. What advice could you give me that might help prevent the next star of our team from taking that call with the recruiter, or exploring and being curious about other opportunities? What do I need to know that people aren't telling me about what makes this place maybe someplace you don't want to work? Or how can I improve the experience here to make people want to stay, and so that we can retain great individuals like you for your entire career, if possible. Help me understand is really what you're after. And as you're framing these responses to the dodgeball answers, keep the questions general. Don't make them pointed at Kate per se. Don't make it about Kate per se, or her next opportunity. Keep them general around what are the factors that either might encourage someone to look someplace else, or might encourage someone to not even consider a different opportunity. The key in all of these exit interviews is to listen. As I said earlier, be really disciplined about you not doing much of the talking. You want to ask your questions and then remain open to the feedback and the answers that you hear. Don't resist with everything that you can. Resist the urge to be defensive. You are in a data collection opportunity here, and keep it as such. Listen carefully and objectively. Then take the information that you've gathered from this person, be gracious and grateful to them, both verbally as well as in your heart, for whatever they did feel comfortable in sharing with you, and then sleep on it. Don't do anything right out of the gate with the information that you gathered. You need to digest it, process it, examine it, reflect on it, look at it in terms of, are there themes that I can pull out of this? So they said this, this, and this. Is this pointing to maybe the fact that this issue is bigger than I thought it was? I have people saying this at me, but really they're saying this behind the scenes. You really want to be in a position where you're able to lean into it. And even if it's uncomfortable, and it probably will be uncomfortable as you work through it, then after you've analyzed it for themes and issues, maybe talk to some trusted colleagues about some of the themes and issues that you're seeing, or ask for clarification if it's possible. Bounce your hypotheses as to what these issues might be off others. Question it, redefine it, validate it. For example, you might talk to a peer supervisor and say, you know what, I was sensing that one of our issues was X, but now I'm starting to think that maybe it is Y. What do you think? Another way of framing it is digging into the facts and digging deeper and deeper for really trying to understand what people are valuing in the workplace and how they are feeling. So what you're trying to do is see if there is a pattern at play that you can tap into and work on, or confirm that there isn't a pattern here. Maybe it was just an issue that your newly minted alumni that star, maybe it was just an issue that Kate was having. So for example, maybe she, in leaving Saturday Night Live, she wants to go explore work in serious dramatic roles as opposed to comedy. That's not something that you as an organization, Saturday Night Live, could have dealt with. That's not in your wheelhouse. So you're looking for the patterns, and if they aren't there, that's okay. But if they are there, it gives you something to work on, validate, and see if you can fine tune, implement change around them. And while the whole time you're doing this, sticking to those good management practices of goal setting with your stars and other employees, setting expectations, great communication and coaching. And of course, celebrating the team wins as they occur. So I want to summarize some of these thoughts for you. And in effect, I want to also just share my screen one last time so you can get a sense of the high points of the conversation and what you can do when your star leaves, which again, it sucks, but we can do this, right? I know we can do this, and I've had to do it myself. So highlights, when it comes to the departure game, first and foremost, pause, collect your thoughts, digest it. And in the moment that you're taking that news, try your best to celebrate with that person because they've just gone through a really important decision that they've made. They are a ball of nerves telling you that they are moving on, and you want to be as gracious and warm as you can in that moment. But really, as you're celebrating them, set the stage for those good farewells. If they truly are a star and your team loves this person, have a goodbye lunch. Don't let them slip out the door quietly, because that says something about you and your culture as well. If you can let somebody that worked so hard with you and for you slip out the door like that, that's not what you want to happen. So make sure you're celebrating them as they leave, and ask them to do that one last favor for you, and that is to have that exit interview. In the exit interview, keep your questions general and listen. Don't do the talking. Let them be the one to share their thoughts, their insights, ask clarifying questions, and keep it general. After you get that input, sleep on it, digest it, understand and consider what they're saying, and look for patterns. Maybe you need to get some corroborating facts and digging deeper into what they were saying. Is there corroborating evidence of it? Is it a misinterpretation? What are the other people in your organization feeling? Because really you want to make sure that you're setting the stage for your other colleagues to stay and not follow Kate McKinnon off the show. So then fine tune and implement the changes to improve retention and keep the door open for that alumni to return. And because you have created a better place and been able to maybe address some of the needs that you can to keep Kate on the show, or have her come back to the show at some point in the future. So with all this, you may be wondering, what does this have to do with value? And because here at Exit Stage, right, we talk about ways to build, buy, and sell your company and grow value in your company. What did this all have to do with that? Well, how we respond to alumni leaving says everything about our culture. It is a true reflection of the culture. It's a reflection of how much value we really put in our human capital and the people that we work with as individuals. Are we truly caring about them and what it is best for their future? Or are we more self-absorbed as an organization? And when somebody leaves, it's a personal affront and dead to us forever. Well, that says a lot about your culture, doesn't it? So that directly impacts the value of your company, because culture is one of those intangible capitals that buyers look at. Or if you're a family business, your next generation leaders and potential next generation owners are looking at it and saying, do I want to really be a part of this culture? Or am I saying, nope, this is a circus show I don't want a part of? How we treat people as they are becoming an alumni is just a snapshot of what we really believe about our human capital. So it does link to how we build our businesses, as well as how we buy and sell them, and what we're looking for and what we put forward as our best foot forward. So it might seem counterintuitive, but it really isn't. So with that, we are at time. I am absolutely thrilled you joined us today for Providence Hill Presents Exit Stage Right with Martha Sullivan. I am Martha Sullivan, your host. And again, this is where we talk about the business of business, so you can create the best and brightest future for yourself and your organization. We do offer a variety of workshops for you to take a part of. One of the workshops is our Get a Grip workshop series. It is a 7-week series that really is a great introduction into how the value of your business, how that all comes together with your personal financial plan, as well as what things business owners need to think about when it comes to impacting and growing the value of their company. The next Get a Grip workshop series starts in July. And then we also have our Finding True Value workshop series, which is slated to start early next month, where we do a deeper dive into what truly creates value in a company. We break down how you maximize the rewards in your company and minimize the risks so you can maximize the purchase price or the selling price of your company, and all of the factors that go into that. That is our Finding True Value workshop series. And you can find the links to those workshops by visiting providencehill.com, or you can click on the QR code here and it will take you directly to that page. And so check it out. They're great workshops, and we receive wonderful reviews from those that participate in it, in really expanding their knowledge on how to grow their business. So this is Exit Stage Right with Martha Sullivan. I encourage you to go on and transform your business so you can exit stage right. And I've got a really good feeling about this. You're going to kick some tail. Thanks for joining.